for our January 7th meeting. First of all, Happy New Year, everybody. I said that earlier, but I wish us all a good year, good health, and most of all, good luck to all of us. So, thank you. And I'll ask Savannah to do the roll call, please.
In attendance tonight, we have Dave Ouellette, Bruce Cheney, Mike Delavecchia, Charlie St. Clair, Amy Levisick, Planning Director Rob Mora, Assistant Planner Tyler Carmichael, and I'm Savannah Brunel, the Recording Secretary.
Okay, thank you. I'll look for a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
So moved. I'll second.
It's been first and second, and all in favor? Signify by raising your hands. Okay, thank you. There's no dissension there. So we'll move right along to public hearing. So 6.1, which is White Oaks Road, has asked to move it from tonight's meeting to a February meeting. So I'd be looking for a motion to do that.
Is that to table it? So is it
Would-
just being tabled?
Yeah.
I'll motion to table it for next month.
Is there a second?
Second.
Michael, second it. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Okay, any dissensions? No, so that's passes, so we've moved that one. So now we're gonna go to 7.1, which is PB 2025-025, 150 Valley Street. They're proposing a condominium conversion for the existing two-family dwellings. We'll have a motion to accept this application.
I'll motion to accept.
Second? Say thank you, Counselor. All in favor, raise your hands. Okay, it's been accepted. No dissension. Is the applicant here?
Gotta be one of
We're
those
moving right
meetings.
along here tonight.
Someone's coming in.
Huh?
Someone's coming in right now.
Well, we'll give them 2 seconds.
Move on.
Webpage.
Hi, are you from 150 Valley Street?
I am.
You're just in time, kid. Come on right up.
Oh, that was quick. You guys didn't take long to get through your quick stuff, did ya? This way?
Great, no, just bring it over a little bit more. Yeah, right about there is good.
Yeah.
That'll be all right, Savannah, to get on the camera? Okay.
Stay.
I hope this is not indicative of the coming year. Collapsing
There we go.
diesels. That's kind of nice. If you could just give us your name and address.
I will, yeah. Give me one. So my name is Chris Hickey. I'm here from Keach Nordstrom Associates, representing the applicant, so YFC Realty, and, excuse me, I didn't expect to be up this quick.
If you just tell us where you're from.
I'm from Keach Nordstrom Associates in Bedford, New Hampshire.
Okay, so you're down there. All right, thank
Yep.
you.
I'm the surveyor of the project. And what we're here tonight for is a condominium conversion of 150 Valley Street, map 368, lot 221-24. It's an existing multifamily building that our client had renovated and is in the process of turning it into condos just so we can sell each unit independently. One of the the left unit is substantially complete and it's all ready to be moved into. The right-hand side, he's still at work in progress, so that's under construction, and once that's done, we'll have to redo another plan, not for the planning board, but for the registry to show that it's substantially complete. There are limited common areas on the plan and some common areas, they're all delineated, and there's no state permits required. We're on city sewer and water, and that's basically it in a nutshell. There's not too much to it. We had the technical review, and there were very minimal comments, and be happy to answer any other questions you got.
Gonna be one condominium or two? Two condominiums?
It's 2 units, yep.
It's 2 units. okay.
Yep.
Questions for the applicant?
How many parking spaces will be on this project?
So the way it comes in is Unit B, it comes in off of Valley Street, and they have a 15-foot right-of-way that they share with a neighbor to the left, which is the Christopher Nesbitt property. So they share that driveway, and when you come in, you can probably get 2 spaces there. And then on the backside for Unit B, you come in off of Granite Street, and there's just a parking area back there, which it's really not greatly defined parking, but you could probably get 2 cars back there.
Is that dirt or asphalt, the parking?
It's dirt right now.
Okay.
Do you plan to make it defined?
I'm not sure if the applicant's gonna do that or not. The backside is paved, and then the front side is gravel, so, it's just kind of a general area. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a big retaining wall on the right-hand side coming in off of Valley, and there's room to park. We had 3 cars in there one day when I was up there working. And then on the backside, you could probably get 2 cars. It's just, the whole thing was pretty much leveled and in a work of progress at this point, so.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead.
Well,
Counselor.
I would ask the planning department to check and see if the parking is sufficient. Take a look at the
They meet
property.
parking, and their use is already a grandfathered
Oh,
use.
grandfather,
Yeah,
okay.
so they're already a 2-unit, so there's no change, it's just
Yep,
a condo, it's a change of ownership.
Yep.
So it's,
fair enough.
the only reason they came to planning board is because in our subdivision regulations, we have one excerpt that says condos have to be approved at planning board.
Got it,
Okay,
got it.
anything else for anybody?
I'm fine.
Okay, we'll open this up to a public hearing. You can have a seat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody in the public who would like to comment on this application? Where's my? We opened up, by the way, at 6:40. Okay, seeing nobody, we will close the public comment at 6:30. And now we'll look to the staff for their,
So, for the findings of fact, the application is complete and consistent with state and land use regulations. The application and revised site plans were reviewed by the Technical Review Committee at its December 17th, 2024 meeting, and their comments have been incorporated in the recommended conditions of approval. And those recommended conditions of approval all are, and these all have to be met before the issuance of any certificate of occupancy. The applicant must possess all required permits and approvals granted by other municipal, state, and federal boards or agencies. All permits and approvals must be in place prior to the signing and recording of the final plans in Mylar. Should any permit or approval be revoked at any time during the project, all work must cease until a new permit or approval is obtained. Copies of all permits and approvals must be provided by the applicant to the planning department upon request. Final condominium association documents must be submitted to the planning department for review and approval. These documents must be recorded at the Belknap County Register of Deeds at the applicant's expense. A floor plan for each unit must be provided to the planning and assessing departments. 4 final plan sets and a Mylar plan must be submitted to, reviewed, and approved by the planning department. The Mylar plan must be recorded at the Belknap County Register of Deeds at the applicant's expense. An as-built design, application, and fee for each dwelling unit must be submitted to the planning department for review and approval. And the project and all associated conditions must be completed by no later than January 7th, 2030. If all conditions are not met, nor any extension application filed with the Laconia Planning Department by the completion date, this approval is null and void. And that's that.
and you're all set with everything then?
Yeah.
That's all I really, okay, wanted to know that. Any final questions from anybody? Okay, I'll look for a motion to either accept or not accept. From somebody.
Approve.
Approve or not approve,
I'll
thank
make
you.
the motion to accept,
To approve.
approve, thank you. Findings of fact is presented in the staff report.
I'll second.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your hands. It's all for an approval, no dissensions. Thank you very much, you're all set. And good luck. In first, out first.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on now to 7.2. This is PB 2025-033, 553 Weir's Boulevard. The applicant is proposing to amend the previously approved site plan to allow the use of white trim. I look for a, figures. I look for a motion to accept the application.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Seconded, all in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, no dissensions, thank you very much. The name and,
Good evening, John Roki with Roki Consulting. I'm here on behalf of the Langley Cove project, which phase one is basically complete now. And what we're here to talk about is literally just the trim on the trim color on the units. So the history of this was when we made the application in 2011, you guys had just implemented, or what Shannon was trying to implement, the steep slope ordinance. And there was some obscure things in there about, you know, the color of units and what things could look like from the lake. And for some reason, this got carried through in the final conditions of approval when we got approved in 2017. There's something that says you cannot have white trim, specifically in the notice of decision. And we were trying to do it administratively. I worked with Rob and Tyler on it, trying to figure out a way of not having to come back to do a site plan amendment for white trim, but that's where we're at. So what I had turned in on our package is basically kind of you guys should all have this in your package, but this is the trim colors we're looking at doing. You know, like dark trims and white, or dark shingles, dark siding, white trim. That's what we want to do, and we're ready to actually order it. The 4 houses are already up, and the townhouses, there's a 4-unit townhouse that's underway right now, and all the colors will be similar to that going forward through the development as well.
all look the same.
They'll look variations of dark with white trim. They won't have all the exact same that exact same color, but it'll be variations of dark colors, dark shingles with white trim.
I'm gonna, I kinda remember back then, but you recall why there was a problem with the white trim?
I don't.
You really don't?
No, I really don't.
Okay.
If you drive around and look at basically any structure that exists everywhere, you'll see white trim on almost everything. I actually had to inquire to the architect whether you could even buy something that wasn't white trim, or whether you had to, I mean, you basically have to special order it, so.
Okay. All right,
I don't recall what the reason was. There was a lot of things in that steep slope ordinance that was kind of, we were one of the first people that had ever even gone in on that, so. I don't remember the exact reasons for the white trim specifically.
Okay.
Regardless, we're here this evening asking to be able to use it.
We just wanna make sure we don't,
Yep.
cause a scene.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Any questions besides the one I just asked? Okay, thank you.
Yep.
We'll open this up to a public hearing at 6:46. If there's anybody in the audience who would like to comment on this trim situation, please come on up. Color of the trim.
I dare you. Sorry.
Okay, seeing nobody, we'll close the public hearing at 6:46:50. Thank you. I will look now to staff to see if you can recall why there was an issue with white trim.
So the condition says that it would stand out too much. That was the reasoning in the condition, was that white trim, white doors, and white garage doors would stand out too much.
What would stand out too much? The
The
buildings?
paint color.
The pink
white.
color, white.
The white would stand out too much.
Right, which if you drive down Weirs Boulevard, you'll see tons of white trim, white doors, white garage doors, so.
Who's looking?
Somebody's
Okay.
apparently looking.
Unfortunately, it was in the notice of action.
You're
and-
looking?
I have a question for the staff.
Okay, go ahead.
Could you do up some paperwork to get rid of this condition?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, we were equally disturbed, and we're like, oh my God, we have to go to planning board to get this removed, so.
Yeah. Please put it together for the next meeting.
Will do.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll look for a motion to approve the applicant's desires.
Make a motion that we for PB 2025-033 for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been first and second in the discussion. I will ask, is there a finding of fact with this?
There are. Basically, it's just the application as it's moved through the system before. It's complete and consistent with state and city land use regulations. The original applications for site plan, wetland CUP, steep slope CUP, boundary line of adjustment, and subdivision were approved by the planning board on July 10th, 2018. The planning board approved an additional wetland CUP on August 2nd, 2022 to allow for the extension of a sewer and water easement and the use of a temporary emergency access road. The application was amended by the planning board on July 7th, 2023 to extend the completion date to July 2nd, 2024. And the application was most recently amended by the planning board on July 2nd, 2024 to extend the completion date to July 7th, 2025. And there's really only two conditions. The first condition is to remove condition 2B, Roman numeral I, lowercase I 2, from the July 10th, 2018 approval, and that white paint can be used for exterior doors and trims throughout the development, and that all other conditions from all prior approvals shall remain in effect.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor, please signify by raising your hands. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you very much, and nice to see you, John.
Thank you.
So silly.
Okay, moving right along. We're now at 7.3. This is PB 2025-034. This is Endicott Street East, The Gardens. Applicant is proposing to revoke the cluster subdivision. Okay. Thank you. If you could give us your name and.
My name is Michael Lacasse, 9 Scenic Lane, Hudson, New Hampshire. I'm one of the owners with the other owner, Ed Paquin, to represent ourselves tonight. We're asking the board to accept, to revoke the cluster subdivision on part of our subdivision we have going on there of 85 condos. The way I bought this from David Jennings, I was under the understanding that every unit, it was a unit, not lots. Supposedly, after a year and a half of dealing with the planning board and going back and forth with the planning department, I should say, we figured it out that there was a cluster limit that was put in place, plus a condo unit put in place, which my understanding was it was one condos, not a cluster. So we're here tonight to ask if we could get the cluster development removed from the planning, the plan that got accepted back in, I think, 2020, I think it was?
It was 2021.
21?
Yep.
To get that removed.
Okay, any questions from anybody on the board? Okay, thank you. We'll now have our public comment.
Thank you.
We'll open up the public hearing at 6:51. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to comment on this application in front of us, now's the time to do it. I gotta come in with music for this, I'm telling you. I'm gonna do this.
Jeopardy music would be
Yeah,
good.
well, that would be best. Okay, seeing nobody, we'll close the public comment at 6:51:35. Thank you. Staff, my question to you is, what is the difference gonna be here?
So there's no difference in the subdivision whatsoever. As it is when it came through originally, it was approved as a cluster subdivision and a condominium subdivision. So they were building under the condo subdivision as opposed to the cluster subdivision, and that's how they're doing all the sales. So we had lot lines that were showing, and then the buildings didn't correspond with the lot lines. So all we're doing is we're revoking the cluster to remove the lot lines from the project to allow everything just to be a condominium as opposed to.
There's no harm done at all by
No.
doing this? Okay.
A cluster would be like individual homes in a neighborhood?
No, it's still the same single-family homes or duplexes. It's just, as opposed to building them within a lot line, you're building it within a common area.
So it's open land for everybody that lives
Yeah.
in the neighborhood?
Yep, so we're just getting rid of the boundary lines.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, would staff take it away?
Sure. For the findings of fact on this application, it is complete and consistent with state and city land use regulations. Planning board approved the cluster subdivision plat at its September 7th, 2021 meeting. The application was most recently amended by the planning board on October 1st, 2024 to construct 3 single-family homes in lieu of 2 duplexes. That brings us to tonight. And there's only 2 conditions. recommended conditions. The cluster subdivision plat and related conditions shall be revoked. All conditions related to all other previously approved subdivisions, site plans, and conditional use permits for this project shall remain in effect.
Okay, that's it?
No, we did not accept, so
I need to accept it first.
We didn't accept it?
no, so we'll need to accept first.
I motion to accept the
No,
application.
we gotta start all over.
I'll second that.
I apologize, it's been motion to accept, all in favor? Okay, thank you, that was unanimous, thank you very much, I
I also move to approve.
just so excited. Yes, now look for a motion to approve this.
I move to approve it, based on finding of fact.
Okay, do you wanna, do they need to read the,
Do you want me to read the whole thing?
I
All
already-
right, I
all
move
set,
to
no, no.
approve application PB
Okay.
2025-034 for Endicott Street East with the conditions of approval presented in the staff report.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there a second to that? Okay. All in favor, please raise your hand. That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Continue on with your good work up there.
Thank you.
Good luck. Okay, now we're gonna move on to 7.4, PB 2025-019. This is 504 Scenic Road. Applicant is proposing to construct 5 townhouses. Give us your name and address, sir, when you get a chance. Is that easy and straight?
No, it's a little, it does look a little crooked in there.
Yeah.
Oh, here, I got you.
How's your dad doing?
You watched out. Let me look. Yeah, switch. Is that level, Savannah?
No.
Thank you for.
Which side?
Now it's this side that's shorter.
Before you leave, would you repeat that to me?
Yes.
I'd like to hear how it.
Oh, we're probably gonna change that. We have to change that on that. She hit the button.
And then I have to go like this.
Look at that. Fancy
Alright,
schmancy.
just testing it out.
I love it when technology works. Yep.
Did the audience see the change in the screen
It-
a second ago? Did anybody notice?
Okay.
With our powers combined.
Wonder Twins activate.
Okay, Savannah, are we ready?
Yep.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Craig Bailey, the engineer of record here from Bailey Associates, representing Mr. Bill and John Connaughton, applicants. I've got the colored up site plan on the easel, but I've also got the entire plan set here with me and a PDF so we can splay it up onto the interwebs. The project here is at 504 Scenic Drive in Laconia, Scenic Road in Laconia. In a nutshell, this is a townhome subdivision for 5 units. The existing lot is currently, has a existing home on it, very old dilapidated home with a detached garage. This is, as you're going up Scenic Road, the lot is on your left, and there's a great big knob of ledge to your left as you look up at the house. And so that's the location. The view over the bay is going to be amazing. And so I think what this will do is really pretty up the neighborhood, and it fits in right with what's going on over there in the general. What we can see, so on the cover sheet here, we see where we are at. You guys all have the 11 by 17s?
I think everybody has just.
We have them in a
Okay,
tablet
perfect,
or-
perfect. And so on the cover sheet, we see the overall locus and where we're at. And we can get into it later. The next sheet is a site plan and grading plan. And what we're seeing here is, if you have color screened, the blue lines are the proposed contours, and that's gonna be the proposed grades. And as I mentioned earlier with the ledge, that means there's gonna be quite a bit of construction and quite a bit of excavation required here. There will be ledge excavation. There's no getting around it. The plan is to convert the site to an in and an out kind of a situation for the driveway. Instead, right now, there's just a single entrance off of Scenic Road, and you have to back onto the lot or back off the lot, which is much less than ideal because just to the north of the site, there's a ledge outcrop, which is right to the left, along the left-hand side of the highway. Site distance is as good as it will ever get. And by moving the driveway where I have it down and the additional entrance to the south of the site, we're making this situation as best as possible, okay? We're playing the hand that we have been dealt. When we convert a lot with a single-family home on it, with a single garage and a little bit of driveway, to a large multi-unit building like this with a large paved driveway, we have to plan for the stormwater. The plan is to construct an underground stormwater detention system. And the manufacturer is ADS Storm Tech, and these are the chambers that we've seen in the past. Very expensive to install, but once installed and working properly, they work quite well. They reduce the temperature of the stormwater. They reduce the amount of total suspended solids that leave the site. Really, in order to maintain the ordinance of pre and post flows, this is the only way we could do it on this site. Obviously, there's no place for a detention basin, a conventional pond. So, with a judicious connection of roof drains into multiple smaller landscape-style catch basins along the front where the people park their cars, inletting into the system, the stormwater has been mitigated and managed. The site is currently on sewer and water, so that's not going to change.
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Which side of the road is the sewer pipeline? Is it
Sewer-
on your side or across the street?
The sewer pipe's running down the center line of the highway.
So either way, you're gonna have to dig into that road for that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
To that point, we are going to maintain trenching only on the southern side for both water and sewer. And we have a request on file here for a waiver for overhead utilities. And so the second trench would be for underground utilities. And so I've asked for a waiver from that so that'll minimize the trenching across the highway. In addition, existing right now today, we have a sidewalk on the opposite side of the road, away from the development. And that sidewalk is currently behind guardrail. And so,
Is that sidewalk private? Or is
no, it's in the city right of way.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Tyler and I have been back and forth in this. I've also asked for a request to not require sidewalk on the development side because it already exists. So whether or not it's actually applicable is, we can deal with that. Parking will be handled, one spot outside for each unit and 2 spots in the garage under. And so each unit will have 3 spots for parking, which is more than the required of 1.5 spaces per unit. Dumpster and trash utilities trash will be handled by the unit owners, and trash will be kept inside the units. We're not showing a common dumpster. Part of the uniqueness and challenge of this site, of course, is the fact that it's a steep hill up behind. And in order to get a multi-unit building like this, these units are 40 feet deep and they're 22 wide. And I'm showing over here and on the PDF a green band around the back and side of the building. That's green space for lawn and turf. In order to have that back area behind the buildings, we're expecting up to a 12-foot ledge cut. So a natural retaining wall will be expected. This is a change from the original TRC 1 appearance where we actually showed grading all the way back up to the back property line. After checking in with the geotechnical engineering firm and construction firms, it really became obvious that a slope is not going to happen. And this is going to be a ledge cut situation. So we've actually engaged with geotechnical, and they will be available during the excavation to manage the cuts, manage the retaining walls, and we'll get to that in a minute. The next page on the packet is a profile view. What we have here is if we're looking at the front of the buildings from the street, and you can see how the building is stepping. Each unit steps, I think, 32 inches each, okay? And that's to kind of match the proposed profile of the parking lot. Again, there's a significant amount of topography on this site. And so by having the driveway start on the low end, and the low end is the southern side, and the high end is the northern end, the driveway is going to be matching grade as much as it possibly can, and each unit then has to correspondingly step up as you proceed northward. You can also see a purple hatched line on that profile, which indicates our ledge probes. So out there on our survey, we did do the ledge probes, and there's no denying it. The right-hand side of that sheet, we show the cross sections, and you can see, again, that purple line with the little cross hatches, and that indicates where we expect the ledge to be. And you can see where we're cutting down to the slab elevation for the units. And so you can get a good sense of the 3D, what's happening as far as cutting into that slope, and then we're going to climb vertically on that rear slope. Next page is the stormwater drainage system, and what that shows, again, is the profile view. It shows each of the chambers, how the stormwater is going to enter each one, and they too are stepped to manage gravity, because gravity is always on. And you couldn't contain it all in one. It would be too deep on one end and too high on the other end. So the chamber system will have to be stepped as well. And I have worked closely with the manufacturer on this, because frankly, this is my first underground system. This is the first piece of property that was worth it, to be honest, and it is.
It was worth it because of the development itself, or it has to be done, so it's worth doing?
The property value
The property value.
that makes it worth the extra expense. It's generally it's less expensive to dig a hole and call it a pond than to install a system like this out of plastic chambers with the special rock, and then you have to build a parking lot over it. It's more expensive, there's no doubt about it. The next sheet in the packet is sheet number 5. That is the landscaping plan in all of its glory. I remember, so I try to do my best as far as showing what the idea here is. We are not a landscape engineering company, but you can see clearly that each unit has a specific parking spot in front of their garage. There's a little bit of green space between the two, and again, we have these steps that are going to happen. And so that green space is giving place for those retaining walls for each of the unit owners to kind of have their own little fiefdom, as it were. I'm also using that green area there to collect the stormwater coming off of the units and to send it into the underground system. The next page is my typical erosion control details. Next page is the sewer and drainage manhole details for construction details. The next page is the water and utilities details. Again, this is going to be on public water, of course, and so Laconia Waterworks has their way of doing things, and this is their way of doing it. You can see also a smaller blow-up, kind of a 30,000-foot view of the stormwater system and how that's going to be configured in its schematic. Last sheet is the site distance study. The first day that we got out of the truck on this job site, and we said, OMG, the site distance is going to be a problem. And it's not. We've analyzed it. I'm showing you right here the site profiles for the human eye based on their sitting in a vehicle, looking left, looking right. The ledge cut, you can see the ledge cut on the left side of sheet number 9. You can see that the existing ledge cut is kind of straight up, but it meets the standards. Okay, this is a 30 mile an hour per hour road. This isn't I-93. And we have the sight distance and the stopping distance. I think that's it. Oh, I take it back. One last sheet. The last sheet of the package is shows a lot of purple on that. That's where we did the ledge probes to identify the depth to ledge. Mr. Chairman, any questions that I could answer?
Well, I will turn that over to my colleagues here and see if they have any questions.
The stormwater retention area, where does that drain into?
Yep. It's a good question. The stormwater detention system is going to be connected to the exact same place that it's going today. And that's into an existing basin on the side of the city highway. That then drops under the road and goes towards the railroad. And there's an ancient railroad, cut stone railroad head wall over there, and that's where it heads to the lake. It's actually between the right-of-way for the road and the railroad. And so we're not touching that. We're not gonna be digging over there into the railroad. And because of the system that we've designed, sized it correctly, the stormwater that's headed there today will be the same amount after the construction is complete.
And that'll be verified by somebody. I'm looking at you, guys.
Yeah,
That'll be
DPW
verified.
reviewed the drainage report and they had no concerns, so.
All right. Not that I don't trust you, I do. I just wanna to verify that, so you're not stuck by somebody else's miscalculations, okay.
Is there any filtering system in this stormwater retention? Or is it just basically collects the water and then basically drops it down and ultimately into the lake?
The filtration system we have are based on the green, they call them grass panels. And so because the stormwater is coming off the roofs onto those grass panels between each unit, we have that small amount of grass to clean the stormwater before it goes into the system. The rear side of the building, the back side of the building is also going to be piped into it, and that's also the same thing. It's all green. It's effectively working as a treatment swale, a grass treatment swale.
Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you very much, and it's a big project for sure. Well, I do have one question. When is your date of completion? Any idea?
Let me introduce you to Bill. He's one of the landowners. He can speak to the timing and what you're thinking.
Come on up, Bill.
David, Bill Connaughton.
Thank you.
My brother John's here. Starting, we'll probably start upon approval of permits, and it'd probably take us maybe 8 months to complete this project.
That's fast.
Yeah, hopefully. Worst case, next year. Depends if we could start it this winter. We worry about the spring. We know what happens down there in springtime. There'll be no construction. No one wants to work down there in May around Bike Week.
That's June, but thank you.
Yeah. So,
So, are you guys from the area?
actually, yeah, we've been up here since 1970. We have places in Guilford.
That does make you residents, then, I would
And,
say.
Guilford. So, yeah, between Guilford and obviously Scenic Drive.
Well, it's a big project, no matter how you cut it, and that's 8 months is, wow, if you do that, people are gonna be saying, how'd you do that? So, okay, all right, thank you. We'll open this up now to any public comment from any abutters or anybody in the audience at 7:13, starting now. Is there anybody here that would like to comment on this application? Okay, we'll close the public hearing at 7:15. Thank you. Staff, he mentioned the waiver for overhead wires. Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So our site plan regulations require that all utilities be buried underground. They are requesting that we allow electricity and communications above ground, rather than, as he mentioned, cutting a second trench into scenic road.
So the wires are on the other side of the road?
Correct.
What possible hazards would that be, having those wires up there as far as wind or anything?
So, it's already pre-existing, and that's why they submitted the waiver, and that was our recommendation that they submit the waiver for it. For redevelopment, if there's already overhead utilities, that, according to the site plan subdivision regulations, you can then submit a waiver to continue using the overhead, which is what they've done, because there's already a pre-existing structure there that is fed overhead. We're just requesting to maintain that.
That makes sense. All right, that's my question. Anybody else have any questions for the staff?
Where do we fall on the sidewalk requirement?
Well, we'll get to that, and we'll
Okay.
talk to that waiver. How about
I'm
you?
in favor of burying wires whenever we can.
Speak into the mic, please.
Expensive project. The townhomes themselves would be glad if there's no wires there. And it's required they bury them, and I don't understand why we would give a waiver not to bury them.
Well, the second cut, besides being an expense, I guess wouldn't make much of a difference because you're gonna be cutting it anyway, but that's a valid point. Will that interfere with those wires there? Will that interfere with the view for the residents? The $1 million view we're talking about?
Actually, no, the utility pole that we're be coming off of is just slightly northeast of the northeast corner. So it's kind of off their view of their left.
Okay, for anybody who couldn't hear that, that's not, the answer was no. Okay.
So there are telephone poles on the opposite side of the street.
Mhm.
So this is just the connection to said telephone poles that are already there and already hideous in nature.
But more, I would imagine there'd be more wires that exist there now, or would they be able to do it on the wire that is there now? Would they have to increase the wires going back and forth, I think, because of more units there? Is that logical to expect?
I am not an electrical engineer, so I could not answer that.
He seems to know.
That should be, it should be the same, I'm sorry. It should be, John Connaughton, it should be the same size wire. That's our understanding. And also, the length of the wire, the new location of the building, it's actually shorter, so it's, the cable across the street will be much shorter than it currently is.
Thank you.
Is that wired for cable up there? It is. So they would go
Cable and
across
power,
too?
yep.
They would go across there too, all right. All right, any other questions concerning, do you wanna talk
No,
about
not
the
yet.
sidewalk waiver now, or do you wanna,
Might as well.
okay.
There's a guardrail across the street. Sidewalk is not doing those people in the townhouse any good. They have to climb over a guardrail to get to it. That's developed, that whole area is growing. Townhomes, trailer house, the trailer park's getting torn down, new things going in. Should take advantage of the sidewalks when we have the opportunity.
Well, for sure, there's, in the summertime, there's always pedestrian traffic up there, I know, because when I come around the corner there, I'm always on the alert for people walking in the road. Unfortunately, usually walking with traffic, so that you have to worry about that.
So
you don't
our-
see it coming.
Our site plan regulations just specify a sidewalk needs to be on one side of the road, doesn't have to be on both. So they don't qualify for a waiver because they already meet that requirement.
Why do they have to ask for it?
They were under the impression that they had to, but we had informed them that they didn't need to, and rather than submitting a second memo that removes it, they just said, no, we'll leave it, we can discuss it.
So
But
they don't need a sidewalk.
They do not need a sidewalk waiver.
Now, the sidewalk across the street,
Blocked by a guardrail.
Yeah.
There's an opening to get to the sidewalk, so they can cross the street,
Where's the opening?
right before the guardrail. It should be right, honestly, right there at their property line. So,
I'm almost is it possible to, without making them come back, is it possible to table the sidewalk waiver and discuss that at another meeting and move on with everything else? Is that possible?
Well, you don't have to do anything with the sidewalk waiver.
I understand that, but nonetheless, okay, I see what you're
So
saying. You're
you don't-
saying it
you don't
doesn't have to be
it
there.
doesn't, it's not applicable.
no.
It doesn't
We
matter.
can't do anything about it anyway.
So you
Is that
can't
what
do
you're
anything
saying?
about the sidewalks.
Well,
Well, we could make it a condition of approval,
Make what a condition of approval?
approval of the project. We could make approval of a project that they include a sidewalk.
Well, there is a sidewalk included already on the street.
Oh, but on their side of the street.
So,
The
So
question
let
is
me-
yes or no.
I think that's a legal question that we would need to seek legal opinion on of, now we're adding a condition to somebody that we wouldn't normally add a condition to.
so if you guys don't know this, there's a lot of contention about sidewalks. But the reality is that any project that normally comes before the board, that's gonna be, is a requirement. I don't know what the cost of the sidewalk would be. I'm sure it's gonna cost money.
I think there's another aspect of that, of the drainage that, because
I-
of the slope of the road there.
I saw the drainage thing, but again, this would all be, could all be figured out, again, at a cost. But I can assure you that if you can put a sidewalk there, or if you do, it would be greatly appreciated by many, many people, including on the city's side of it, because we're in desperate need of sidewalks. And there are a lot of pedestrians up there, and Mike has a point, a guardrail is almost like a barrier, even though it's not a barrier, people see it, if they're coming out of your property, they may not wanna walk to the end of the guardrail. I'm just bringing up a point here to you guys.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Sure.
if a sidewalk were to be constructed on this part of this project, it would be 200 feet of sidewalk, an island upon itself on the left-hand side of that road as you're walking north. Because there is no sidewalk currently south of it, and there is no sidewalk currently north of this parcel of land. I think the best compromise would be to just prepare a gravel pad for a possible future sidewalk 10, 15, 20 years down the road.
You'd be willing to do that?
Just put the gravel in.
I guess my concern is,
Come on up so we can hear you.
I guess my concern is, the way the property is and the way the street is, going up north on the road, the existing sidewalk where it is, it encourages people to cross the street onto that sidewalk. If we were to have a sidewalk in front of this property, or something that looks like a sidewalk, it'll promote people to walk on to that space. And north of this property, like you've seen earlier, there's ledge. And so I've seen people running up that street, and there's no room to walk, or there's no room to run besides being on the street.
And
And
they
that's
still
where it
do that,
becomes
right?
dangerous.
They still stay on the street though, right?
They stay on the street, and there's traffic coming down, and in my opinion, that's more of a safety hazard than promoting people to go across the street.
Yeah, I
Because the
agree.
opening of the guardrail is at the southernmost part of the property, right across the street, so people naturally walk to the sidewalk and use it often.
I agree with you on that. However, as I tried to point out, people still will run on that, they'll stay on the side of the street they are, instead of going across for whatever reason, lack of intelligence, something.
Correct.
So, again, by even putting gravel there and having that space form there, I think that's a good thing, because that's for the people that aren't looking at the smart thing to do, and it gives them that that spot to be. Again, it's such a tight road to begin with, as you
Right.
know.
No, I agree.
And you're putting up five units there that is gonna just potentially increase the pedestrians, because people walk,
Right.
you know, a nice
Right.
day, they're gonna walk, they might wanna walk down the Lakeside Ave or whatever, and you're just giving them a safer space to do. I would encourage you, according to, the planning director, we don't have the authority, I guess, to require a sidewalk, but I would strongly encourage you to put the gravel path there, just for being a good developer.
Right.
I'll put it
Okay.
like that.
And we'll talk to our site folks and see if it,
Yeah,
Can make it
if you
happen.
could, and if you could get back to the planning director here, or Tyler, and let them know, because I'll be asking about that, and I will be watching it, but I really, really encourage you to do that. I know it's gonna be added expense, but I think it's, penny wise, dollar foolish not to do it, for all the reasons we've just discussed.
Okay.
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Anybody else here? So, it sounds like, let's talk about, can we talk about that waiver now for the overhead wires, or should we wait for that?
I would talk about it now.
Okay, so Mike's voiced his opinion on that, on the waiver for the overhead wires. How about anybody else? Amy?
I mean, the unsightliness is across the street and not their responsibility.
She has a movie up here, but we're looking at the property.
I Google Earthed you.
Yeah, that's fine.
So if anybody actually wants to see it, you can.
Guardrail there?
Yeah,
Where's
I've
the
got the guardrail right here. So this is the property. Just so you know, I am showing them yours.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then on the opposite side of the street is, so that's their southernmost tip, and that's the opening.
Is there a hole in this guardrail there?
It's
No,
the beginning of
it's
the guardrail.
beginning.
Okay,
It's the beginning.
okay. I
So
see.
it's right across the street from their property.
So,
One end of
find that overhead
Correct.
wire, that overhead wire you're talking about there.
There's the overhead on the opposite side of the street.
Yeah, but where's it coming across to that house, is what I'm trying to see. Right up there? You can't even- Oh, yeah, I see it there
city
now.
requirement. City will do that.
Nice shot, there's a police cruiser coming
know.
down the road.
Nothing to do with that.
Okay, any other comments on the waiver?
Oh.
For the overhead wire? Hearing it. Well, I'd look for a motion then to, accept the waiver or not, from somebody.
I'll make a motion to deny the waiver for the overhead wire because it's required for the construction and there's no good reason not to put it in.
Okay, I'll look for a second to that motion. Is there a second? Okay, dies for a lack of a second.
That happens.
So, look for another motion to accept the waiver for the overhead wire.
I'll make a motion to accept the waiver for overhead power lines.
Okay, is there a second for that?
I second it.
Okay, thank you. I've never had one fail on both sides before, so that'd be interesting.
There's still time.
Could have been.
Yeah, we could table the whole thing. Okay, so it's been seconded to approve the waiver. Is there any more discussion?
We might as well discuss it some more. Getting rid of overhead wires whenever we have the opportunity is a good thing. Those townhomes are gonna sell for a couple $1 million a piece. They don't want wires going across the street to their house.
Yeah.
Get rid of the wires.
Is that an offer?
Plain and simple.
I suppose
There's no
if,
reason not to. Why would you give a waiver when it's required that they do it? What's their reason to get a waiver? Just for a slight expense?
well, the director made the point that the wire is there now.
Well, I think part of the, if I might, Mr. Chairman, part of the argument is that they'd have to cut the road in order to get the underground wire in. And my experience is in the city of Laconia, every time we cut a road, it's a disaster for years to come. And any extra cuts we have to make, just,
But to not do a requirement because it's required to cut the road to put the wire in. That's just part of the deal.
I understand, but there's a reason we have the ability to waive requirements, and this, believe me, I'm sympathetic to your position, I really am. What I see is the difference is, they're not even gonna be crossing the road, that's done already, as I understand it. So what they're gonna do is go from a pole on their own side to their own building. So it's not like it's gonna, and those are wires that exist now.
Right, it's not increasing,
It's not, exactly.
but
I understand, and I don't totally disagree with you, but in this particular case, I see the staff's recommendation as reasonable.
Well, my two points is that, if there's a problem in the future, overhead wires, I think, are a bad thing anywhere, if you can bury them, just because of the weather and other potential issues with telephone poles, et cetera. But the second thing is that if, even on your sewer, for heaven's sakes, dig that as soon as you can, because if anybody's been up Scenic Road lately, it's already deteriorating from the, what do you call it there, the surface asphalt job they did up there. We're already getting some big holes up there and everything else, so this city at some point, sooner than later, is gonna have to repave that. And once they repave that, it's very, very hard to get a dig in, for whatever reason. They really, that's really tough. So I would just throw that out there while I have your attention. Okay, so, no other comments on the overhead wire, so I'll look for a vote. All in favor of granting the waiver, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, opposed? 1, so it passes 3-1. All right, so that's taken care of. How about a finding of, do you have anything else, Tyler or Rob? Or just a,
So for the findings of fact, the application is complete and consistent with state and city land use regulations. The Technical Review Committee reviewed the application and site plan at their October 15th, 2024 meeting. The applicant requested to attend another TRC meeting to incorporate the recommended revisions and comments provided by the committee. So they went to the second committee meeting in December 17th of 2024, and the committee's comments have been incorporated into the recommended conditions of approval below. And those recommended conditions are pre-construction requirements. All conditions in this section must be completed at least 2 weeks prior to commencing any work on site. Plans must be revised and submitted to the planning department in accordance with the following. On sheet 8, the saddle detail. The service saddle must be double strapped, the PVC pipe must be removed, and a 60-inch gate box bottom must be added. Again, on sheet 8, for the trench detail, 12 inches of sand must be shown below the pipe. For the fire access detail, a detail of the approach and departure to the fire access road for the site must be added. This detail must be approved by the Laconia Fire Department. And the sewer cleanouts for the sewer system must be called out on the plan and profile of the sewer system. Cleanout must be added immediately outside of the building before the system turns towards the street. A geotechnical report of the material behind and underneath the retaining wall must be provided to the Planning and Public Works Departments for review and approval. The applicant must provide the Laconia Water Department with the required deposit for inspection services. The applicant must possess all required permits and approvals granted by other municipal, state, and federal boards or agencies. All permits and approvals must be in place prior to the signing and recording of the final plans in Mylar. Should any permit or approval be revoked at any time during the project, all work must cease until a new permit or approval is obtained. Copies of all permits and approvals must be provided by the applicant to the planning department upon request. The applicant must submit a performance guarantee for site improvement and restoration security, an amount equal to 11% of the total estimated cost for all site work. This guarantee must be submitted to and approved by the planning department. This performance guarantee will be returned to the applicant once the project is complete. Bonds will not be accepted to satisfy this requirement. The applicant must submit a performance guarantee for site landscaping and restoration security in an amount equal to 11% of the total estimated cost for all landscaping, or a minimum of $500, whichever is greater. The guarantee must be submitted to and approved by the planning department. This performance guarantee will be returned to the applicant after 2 growing seasons following the completion of the project. Bonds will not be accepted to satisfy this requirement. Erosion controls must be in place and inspected and approved by the planning department. The planning department will perform regular inspections to ensure erosion controls are installed and maintained correctly. 4 final plan sets must be submitted to, reviewed, and approved by the planning department. The final plan set must include a floor plan for each unit. We move on to the construction requirements. All conditions in this section must be met during the construction of the project. All specifications for municipal water service required by the water department apply to all construction. The water department must inspect and approve all water work. A shutoff must be installed on the 2-inch service located at the property line. This will be the delineation of ownership between the water department and the property owner. A separate water service and shutoff must be installed if a fire sprinkler system is used. All water meters and backflow devices must be installed in a heated and accessible location. All water services must be sleeved through concrete walls and foundations. The applicant must adhere to all specifications as required by the Laconia Fire Department. The angle of approach and departure to the access road must be reviewed and approved by the fire department. Firewalls must extend from the foundation to the roof with no connection to other units in order to meet fire code requirements for 1 and 2 family residences. Proper fire separations must be provided between each unit and between each garage and living space. For the post-construction requirements, all conditions in this section must be met prior to the issuance of any certificate of occupancy. Impact fees in the amount of $1,814.48 per new multifamily dwelling unit must be paid to the planning department. In accordance with RSA 674-39, the applicant is exempt from any changes to impact fee rates for 5 years from the approval date. Should the project not be completed during the exemption period, the applicant must pay any and all increases to impact fees regardless of vestment status. An as-built design, application, and fee for each dwelling unit must be submitted to the planning department for review and approval. And the project and all associated conditions must be completed by no later than January 7th, 2030. If all conditions are not met, nor any extension application filed with the Laconia Planning Department by the completion date, this approval is null and void.
Did you get all that?
Great.
That's good, that's good. Thank you, Tyler, for a job well done. Any last discussion here? I'd look for a motion to either approve or not approve this.
Mr. Chairman, can we
Yeah,
have a
right.
motion to accept it?
We didn't do that again?
Sorry, no, you approved the waiver, but now you need to accept the
What is wrong with
application.
this guy, anyway? I'll look for a motion to accept this application. Second? All in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, thank you. I apologize again for missing that. Now I'll look for a motion to either accept, approve, or disapprove this application. Somebody?
I'll make the motion to approve, findings of fact is read by Tyler. Lovely construction, except for right there, see that?
Yeah, you want to read that out?
What am I looking at?
That's the nice, the lovely buildings that
Yeah,
are going in.
so you've made a motion to approve
Yes,
PB
25
20
19.
dash 2025-19. Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, it's been seconded. Any more discussion? I want you to make sure you give that to the applicant before he leaves. All in favor, please raise your hands. None opposed? Okay, it's approved. Gentlemen, I wish you luck, and I want to compliment the architect. Your company is a very well put together.
Oh, I'm not an architect.
Well, whoever did the packet, I want to thank you, you did a good job. And again, gentlemen, please remember about that sidewalk, the gravel. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
We'll work on that. Thank you.
Okay. Gonna go along now with 7.5 PB 2025-3031. Hope the coffee wasn't what did that. This is 758 Endicott Street North. The applicant is proposing to amend the previous approved site plan to modify the sidewalk requirement. Look for a motion to accept this application.
Is it complete?
All we had was the
Nothing on
application.
here.
We don't have any further information than what was provided in your packet.
So there's nothing new to discuss?
Just what was presented in the statement that they're looking to amend their sidewalk condition. That's all that was provided.
I believe it's complete.
Not complete?
Correct.
Well, look for a motion to accept or not accept then. From somebody.
I'll make a motion to not accept due to incomplete packet.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion?
I just don't see any further information on what I've received.
Do we want to give applicant feedback of what we want.
Well, yeah, are there any changes or anything? What's been
So
approved?
I think,
Not seen any.
are we asking for, them to provide us a plan for the sidewalks of what they're proposing?
Well, the proposal is to amend the condition, 2 sidewalks, it says. That's all it says. So I'm not sure what we're talking about here, so yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so we're asking for the applicant to submit us a plan showing what they're looking to do with the sidewalks and how they're amending condition 2.
Okay.
Correct.
Should we table it and ask for a more complete plan? Is that what we
It'll
want?
be the same thing, either way.
You could table it and ask, and tell them that you want a plan showing what the proposed changes are for the sidewalk.
That's what he said.
Sounds, well, if it's not complete, if we don't have everything we need, then, so you made a motion to deny the application, you seconded. Is there any other discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hands. So it's 4-0, to not accept the application, to come back with a more firm, more complete application, which I would advise you to work with the department, the planning department, to see what it is that is needed to do that. Because all this says here is amend condition 2 sidewalks. And I guess we need more than that, so we know what we're talking about. Okay,
May I address this at all, Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry?
May I address this at all?
Let's see if there's a spot here, because we already voted. Should we bring it up in other business
If you just wanna maybe allow them 5 minutes to talk,
right now?
to discuss it. I mean, we don't have to open it for public hearing since you've already motioned that it is not a complete application.
So what are we talking about then? Just to hear what they have to say?
And just allow them to speak on it.
Okay, come on up. Thank you. Just give your name and address.
Yeah, I'm Jonathan Booten. The address, I think, is 0 Endicott, 758 Endicott. We were here last time. We were seeking a waiver of the sidewalk requirement. It was denied. What we're here now to see is if we can get a modification to the sidewalk being,
That's what we need then, is to see that on the application, what the modification is. You can't just come in and talk about it, we need to have it.
well,
an application.
paper application was filled out and the fee was given. I don't know, I wasn't present when it was filled out, but there was an application submitted.
The application just says to amend the condition. It didn't really specify, and we didn't receive any plans or any further information than that.
It just says
Okay.
amend it.
If you would like us to show you the plans now, so you have an idea of what you'd be looking at, we'll then resubmit, but
No, just resubmit it with complete for the next, we'll get it on the next meeting. That's all we can do now.
Why were we told to bring this to this meeting, January 7th? I filled out the application with you guys, and I was told to bring this in. You guys we cut the check, you guys cashed, everything was good. We knew we were on for today's plan, correct?
Yes, but we never received any plans. We never received an update. All we received was the application.
So why don't we just take the plan, bring the plan in tomorrow, and we'll get it on the next
We'll
agenda.
get it for the next agenda.
Do you wanna look at the conceptual plans, or you want me to just bring it into the office tomorrow?
Just bring it in, but do me a favor and get it, make sure you get it right in, so they can get it out to
Disperse
us.
it. We will send it to them immediately, so that way they have it before the next meeting.
Okay, so the next thing here now is 7.6, zoning ordinance amendment, games of chance and accessory gaming. This is a proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance to update the table of permitted uses and define and add performance standards for facilities that offer games of chance and accessory gaming. Huh. I'll keep that in mind next time I go to my Case and Keg or someplace to buy a lottery ticket. Do we need to accept this?
No, we just need to, Tyler will present it, and then we'll open it for public hearing, and then the board can make a decision on what they would like to do with it.
Okay.
So essentially, all we're looking to do is to add the use of casino, which is going to operate games of chance as related to RSA 287D. The state regulates, obviously, casinos and games of chance that are operated in the state. This would not include your Keno, your lottery, all the stuff that, you know, is ancillary. This is for your poker tables, your blackjack, all that good stuff. So,
Keno doesn't play into this?
no.
No, those would all be accessory uses, so this would be like if someone was to come in and build an actual casino.
Correct.
This would not affect the accessory uses of buying a lottery ticket at a gas station.
Correct.
Or playing Keno at an establishment that has a license from the state that is serving liquor and food.
Correct.
And is there gonna be a chance for a public hearing on this?
Yep.
Okay, good, all right.
So essentially, we're just adding the two definitions. One is a definition of casino. If you'd like, I can read it.
Please.
Any room or, so a casino would be defined as any room or structure used for conducting games of chance as defined and regulated by the New Hampshire Lottery Commission pursuant to RSA 287D. A combination of lodging, restaurant, and retail components may be offered at the same facility. We'd also add the definition for games of chance. Those would be all related activities as defined and regulated by the New Hampshire Lottery Commission pursuant to RSA 287D. Beyond that, we would add performance standards for anybody who wishes to operate a casino. That'd be added under section 235-42, non-residential uses.
Can you elaborate on that, performance standards?
Yep, I'm gonna read into those here.
Okay.
So basically, after discussions with Rob,
So we discussed it with the city manager, and then we had a meeting with Mitchell Group.
Correct.
Our legal representative, and we went through the RSA with them.
Yes.
And they made some suggestions to us for performance standards for what we should incorporate into the zoning ordinance, should we choose to adopt casinos moving forward.
And so basically, the performance standards based off of their recommendations and discussions we've had, all casinos must receive a conditional use permit from the planning board and adhere to the following requirements. So in other words, if anybody wants to do a casino, they have to come here and get our approval. The requirements for that conditional use permit are, they must be approved to operate by the New Hampshire Lottery Commission. They must be located on parcels within the commercial resort district, so they'd only be allowed in the CR. They must be located on parcels abutting Endicott Street East, Endicott Street North, and Weirs Boulevard. So only parcels that abut those three roads that fall within the CR district. They must not be located on or adjacent to any parcels with the following uses: place of worship, preschool/kindergarten, school, elementary or secondary schools, daycare or day nurseries, hospital or healthcare facilities. They must provide one on-site parking space for every 90 square feet of gross floor area of the casino. They must operate gaming floors exclusively indoors, so no gaming outside the facility. It'd have to be in the facility. And they must submit a traffic management, public safety, infrastructure development, and architectural plans to the planning department for review and approval.
Tyler, I hate to do this to you, because you've been talking so much tonight. Can you just go over one more time, at the beginning of that, where it will only be permitted?
Yep, so it'll only be permitted in the CR district. And it'll only be permitted in the CR district along Endicott Street East, Endicott Street North, and Weirs Boulevard.
So not Lakeside Avenue?
No, we didn't factor that in there. I mean,
The rationale behind putting it on Endicott Street East, North, and Weirs Boulevard was that those main arteries could accommodate the traffic that would be driven by a facility that we would expect somebody to develop.
But theoretically, somebody could bring a road in from Endicott Street down to Weirs Boulevard, right?
Lakeside Avenue or where's Boulevard?
Lakeside Avenue, I mean, the Veterans Home has entrances off of Endicott Street.
So if the board wanted to, we could amend that and we could add Lakeside Avenue. We just thought that these main arteries were the most appropriate avenues for us.
And I would say to you, if we add it, then we should say with access off of and listing parking, on that side and access on that side in order for a hotel to go on Lakeside Ave. I mean, it would, excuse me, Mr. Chair, it would seem to me that Some casinos would love to have a chance to be where they could look at the lake, people could take a boat ride while they're waiting, or after they've lost their shirt, or whatever. But we should insist they come in and provide parking off of Endicott, not off of Lakeside Ave. No entrance off of Lakeside Ave. That would be my position.
So, well, speaking of the parking, you said,
1 per 90 square feet of,
is that not public parking is not included in that?
no. So if you're gonna build just like we do with any other use, we have a parking calculation that breaks down the use. And for this, we had to analyze several other communities that had gaming, such as Nevada, Las Vegas. And their requirement was 1 per 90 square feet of gross floor area used for that use. So, based upon their experience with casinos, it seemed to match what ours was. It's also the highest requirement we have in our zoning ordinance for parking.
So if you said you can't come in off Lakeside Avenue, you could come up through the Veterans area, would that also mean you couldn't come down Tower Hill or from the backside of Scenic Road?
Yeah, you could. Anything off of,
As long as it wasn't on
as
Lakeside
long as
Avenue.
their access was not on Lakeside Ave. They had to come in off of, which includes down Tower Hill, or, I mean, could
Okay.
buy Bob's Place
Okay,
or go.
so then going to the parking, if somebody put a casino, let's just say, no, I'm not talking about Tower Hill, I'm talking about with his space. Let's talk about, Half Moon Motel. It's on the hill there. So if somebody wanted to put a casino in that front area there,
We've not opened it for public input yet. If you just wanna hold off till we get.
Thank you. So if somebody wanted to put a casino there, would they could put a garage up behind there, parking garage, and that would take care of, that's how they would take care of their parking requirements. Somebody would have to put a parking facility on Lakeside Avenue to accommodate a casino.
It's based on their floor space. It depends on how big of a facility they are and what kind of land we're talking. We've not analyzed every parcel option out there.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna have to do that work when they submit an application, if they're gonna
Okay.
do that.
And this would still have to be up for approval by city council, or would this,
This would still go to city council, so if the planning board voted to move this forward after a public hearing, it would still have to go for another public hearing at city council as
at
well.
city council, right?
So there'd be two hearings at city council level with ours here as well.
And this would only be to approve that potential
That
development.
would be just adding the use to our table of uses with the performance standards that we kind of outlined this evening.
But it seems to me, even with that, there's gonna be a lot of jumps for any potential developer on Lakeside Avenue. They're gonna have a lot
Absolutely.
of Ts to
You gotta
cross.
come in here, for starters.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times you've been to Las Vegas or Reno, but parking's not an issue, because they'll bring you from 7 miles away in a limousine or a bus to.
Yeah, there's definitely other options within the zoning ordinance that allow them to deviate from the parking requirement, such as a conditional use permit that they can bring in, they can have off-site parking, and they can be busing people in. So there's other options to navigate the parking. I don't think that the parking is a huge issue.
Well, let's talk about Weirs Boulevard. I guess potentially they could put something up, somebody could put something up along Weirs Boulevard, and we're comfortable with infrastructure of the road we have there.
They still have to submit the infrastructure development report to us that would show that they could meet all of these things and what that increase would be. So they still have to submit reports to us to validate that.
Yeah.
And that would still be part of any planning board application where you do a traffic analysis and traffic study.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody? Are you finished?
The only other thing would be to add it to the table of permitted uses. We would make it permitted by conditional use permit in the CR district only, and then not permitted everywhere else. That was it.
Let's just say if Mount Washington decided to put a floating casino on the ship, would they be required because they're on the water? Would they be required?
God,
to still-
yes.
They would still be required under these,
Oh, yeah.
okay. And that would include the pier, obviously. Okay. What about, do we wanna, does anybody wanna talk about adding Lakeside Avenue to this?
I don't. I'm saying if somebody wants to build a structure on Lakeside Ave, they have to come in from the backside.
Would we have to add that? I
No,
mean,
you
is
wouldn't,
that-
because it already says you can only come in from,
But we didn't add, they didn't add Lakeside Avenue to this
no,
plan, right?
it's not
Because we
on
don't
there.
want it on Lakeside Ave.
Well,
Access to by Endicott.
I'm asking if we were going to allow this potentially on Lakeside Avenue.
I think if you wanted to add in a waiver option, that planning board would have to approve to allow a deviation from that.
Okay.
That could be an option.
I think that's fair, because at some point, I think there's gonna be a major development there where the arcades are now. It may not be in my lifetime, but I think at some point, that's gonna happen there, and that, there's a huge tract of land there that goes up the hill quite a ways, and where the old Weir's Hotel was. And
But it doesn't need access from Lakeside Ave.
No, but I think to be on Lakeside Avenue, don't we still have to approve that? Or is that already good with this, what Bruce
So
is
what I
talking
have written here is just that the casinos can only be located on parcels abutting Endicott Street East, Endicott Street North, and Weirs Boulevard. So if the property abuts it, and it stretches across, then they would be fine. However, if you want it to abut Lakeside Ave, but you want access off those roads, we could add another provision in here that it could be on parcels that abut Lakeside Ave. However, access must be through Endicott Street North.
Okay with that.
You're okay with that?
Okay.
And again, this is gonna go before the city council. So there, and I'm sure at the city council, there'll be more publicity with regards to a public hearing. And I'm sure that we'll hear from a lot more residents.
And we'll have a public hearing tonight, and people can voice their opinion, and we can
Right.
still make amendments to that before we move it forward as well,
Okay.
so.
Well, is everybody okay what we just talked about, adding that, what you talked about doing for Lakeside?
You all right with that? Yeah.
Amy? Mike?
So we're approving casinos as part of
Potential,
potential casinos in Laconia.
that's correct.
You're not. You're
We're
proposing
proposing-
that the city council
Right, thank you, Bruce.
allow casinos within the city. And the
It's gonna be up to
council
the
could,
council.
all by itself, write this ordinance. I'm not suggesting they would, I'm just saying,
And they could
as
kill
a
it.
matter of fact, the city council could decide, we want casino gambling in the city and do it at their level. So you're not approving it. What you're doing is approving
Moving it.
going forward with this.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Bruce, that's important, obviously.
Okay.
Okay. Well, make a motion to, somebody make a mo, oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
open public hearing.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, don't get excited. We'll open this up to public comment at 7:56. If anybody from the public would like to come up and comment on this, one way or the other, please do. I couldn't hear what you said before, if you want to say it again. Okay. All right, no public comment, we'll close the public hearing at 7:57. And leave it at that, thank you. Okay, well, I encourage you to go to the city council meeting, that should be a good one. Now I'll look for a motion, unless you guys have anything else to add, staff?
No, well, we can add that provision.
I was gonna say, I would make a motion that with the addition of the provisions we discussed, we move forward with this.
Okay, that works, is there a second to that? Amy, second that, okay, any more discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. That's 4 in the affirmative. And nobody dissented. Did you get all that? Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we'll move on to presentations. Do we have any that was a present, no, that was not a present. Do we have any presentations?
Nope.
Okay, Planning Department report?
Oh, shoot, I just closed my. So, this month, we only had, 2 administrative reviews come in, one for 92 Pine Street to add one more residential unit. They went to zoning board and they got a variance to add an additional unit. And then 56 Cottonwood Ave, had an addition of an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit. Just a few months ago, that went to city council and we amended our zoning ordinance to allow ADUs to be permitted by right with the submittal of a administrative review application. We did not have any TIF meetings this month. We still have 2 applicants for the Master Plan Steering Committee. If the board would like to appoint those 2 members, the first one is Gary Dion, who was the former chairman of the planning board. He was on our last Master Plan Steering Committee as well. And Councilor Hoffman would also like to be on the Master Plan Steering Committee. So if the board would like to appoint those 2 gentlemen, would be beneficial.
I move both nominations.
I'll second both nominations.
Yes, as quickly as possible.
All in favor, raise your hands. Okay, that's done, thank you. No objections.
We have been collecting a tremendous amount of data for our impact fee review. Tyler sent, I don't know, was it half a dozen Excel sheets to the company that's doing our impact fee study right now. They were very excited by the amount of data we sent them. We've been trying to get as much as possible so that we can cover streets, sidewalks, and maintenance of buildings, and all of our needs for the next 25 years reviewed in this one study. So it's very exciting. So they should be. We're waiting for a date for them to come out, and we're going to do a site walk with them through the city. We're going to look through every facility. We're going to give them a tour of all the streets that need major repair, all the infrastructure that we have. They are continuing to monitor all of our planning board meetings to see what we approve, to look at things in the future and what we might need. So they are very diligent, and we're very excited to be working with them. So they're coming out this month sometime to do that. We just don't have a date yet.
92 Pine Street, they want to add a unit?
Yeah, they added
Is
one
that
unit.
Walters Market?
No, that was the old
Not
Tyler
Walters
Street Market? Yeah.
The other market, I'm sorry, the
Yeah,
market right
so we
there.
approved it. We approved the multifamily use at planning board. Was it a month or 2 ago?
It's been a couple of months anyway.
2 or 3 months, yeah.
2 or 3 months ago.
Maybe 3.
So it was just adding the one additional unit, and that was just a admin review that was required for that because it was less than.
By adding another unit, are they cutting down the size of the other units? Or are they building
So they
something?
had in their floor plan for their second floor, they had this kind of strange shape that was left, and they could make it into either like a larger room or make it into like a studio apartment. So they decided to make it into
A larger room or another unit?
yeah. So they just decided to do.
The upstairs apartment, I think, was gonna be like 2,500 square feet.
Yeah, it was quite large.
So,
Well,
we
this
had-
other
we
one
let
ain't
them-
gonna be 2,500 feet, okay,
we let them
that's
get
fine.
another unit in there.
So-
But-
It was pretty reasonable. So it's just an admin.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what we got. We would kind of like to talk about. We went through some training for planning boards, and it was a learning opportunity for us that we learned some things from the state, and we'd kind of like to see if we could amend a process at planning board, and that is our waiver process. And I think we've kind of all experienced some issues with how we manage waivers such as sidewalks and underground
Power lines.
and power lines. And so applicants always submit, their plan, and then we accept the application as complete. And we've always accepted the application as complete. We've looked at, well, they submitted waivers, so it's a complete application because they submitted the waivers. The issue with that is if we don't approve the waivers, the application is really not complete because it doesn't show on the plans where the sidewalks would have been, or where the underground utilities might have been, or whatever item that they're waiving. So then we're in this situation where the planning board approves the plan, but what do we do to remedy it if the waiver's not approved? So we would like to amend our process for that in that if an applicant is submitting a waiver, they come up and they present, and then before we accept the application as complete, we take action on the waivers first. If the waivers are not approved, the application then is not complete, and we send them back to add in whatever they're requesting the waiver on, so that they can come back, and then we motion to accept it as complete then, because now they've shown us everything. Correct. And then we can take action on the application. This allows for a more complete application, and when we ask for a sidewalk, we now know that their drainage matches the sidewalk, and the sidewalk is to the standard that DPW wants. So adding this just makes it a better process for us overall. It might add a little bit of time for the applicant, but for the city, it's a better process. So that's kind of what we would like to go to, if the planning board is amenable to making that change.
Is that something we have to make a motion and vote on? Or is
I
it
think we
just-
should just make a motion to say, this is our new process. Going forward, this is what we're gonna do. I think that just makes for a better application, and it's more clear for the applicant.
Is that something that we have to do tonight?
No, we don't have to do it tonight. I mean, I would kinda like us to do that tonight, just so that moving forward.
I'd like to see it in more detail,
Okay,
to be honest with
Are
you.
we delaying projects by doing this, though? You know,
so
that-
you might delay one or two projects that come through, but the outcome of those projects will be better when you have a more concise plan showing everything, such as, example, applicants that might have come in for a waiver for sidewalks and we don't have a plan for sidewalks. This would remove that issue.
Yeah, I'd like to see something more in detail on that too.
Okay, yeah, we can write out a policy for it,
Bob,
absolutely.
is this consistent with what other cities are doing?
Yes, this is consistent with what the state guidance is for how we run a planning board meeting as well.
Right.
So this would be in line with the state,
Recommends?
recommends.
Because logically, it makes sense. The planning board has to accept an application or not accept it, right? You have to make the decision, is it worth hearing and even discussing? Once you make that decision, you now are looking at the project as a whole, and at that point, you decide, do we want to continue it? Do we, want to approve it or deny it? So logically, our requirements are, you have to have underground utilities. And the plans that are submitted don't show that, just shows the overhead utilities. So when the application comes in, it's not complete per our guidelines. So if you vote on the waiver first to say, yes, we approve waiving overhead utilities, perfect, you can accept it, discuss it, approve it. If you say, no, we're not in favor of waiving overhead utilities, come back next month. What you do is you do not accept it, and when the planning board doesn't accept an application, it's not a typical project denial, it's without prejudice. So they come back where basically the project's pretty much the same, they're just making one minor change. So they come back the next month or whenever they're ready, they have their new plans showing underground utilities, they come back, we review it, you say, yep, we're good, accept it, look at the project, we're good, approve it or deny it, whatever you want to do at that point. So logically, it just makes sense to do the waivers first before you accept it.
Great explanation, thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. That's good.
Okay, so we'll get that in detail and then,
Yeah, we can write up a little policy for how we like to, just so you can visually see how it would all work out, and then we can vote on it next week, next month.
appreciate that. Okay, then we can move on then? Yep. Just do that next time, all right,
Mr. Chairman, are we allowed to ask questions of the staff?
if needed.
I want to know, is your full beard and mustache a result of having a baby?
That's a really good question, and I'd like to give you the answer on that, but I'll have to defer
Until
till
after
next
the
month.
meeting. Jeez. Okay,
Those of us who've had kids know you run out of time.
I think I run out of steam more often than
Oh,
not.
well, same thing,
okay, so you're all set with your monthly report?
I am.
Okay. Now we're looking at 9/11 TRC draft minutes. We have those?
We just included those in the packet just in case the board wanted to see what we had been working on at Technical Review Committee. It's just, it's more gee whiz information than anything else. Just so you can be prepared of kind of what applications are coming through the pipeline. and what are some of our comments in the review process that we're going through.
Okay.
The impact fees on that project, were there only $1,800 a unit?
Yeah, so it's based, so multifamily has a different impact fee than single family. I think single family is 38.14.
3,000?
Yeah. And when you're a multifamily unit, it's a little bit less per unit. So,
Seems fair.
But you're looking at those, right?
we're looking at those right now.
Yeah.
Those are,
Yes.
those are all being reviewed.
Yeah.
So
For one, I don't know.
hopefully by the time a larger project comes along, that's
Love
gonna
it, dude.
really mean something to the city. Impact fees will have been updated.
Another question. The zoning board approved those 52 units up by the Broken Wheel on the top of the hill. Because we approve it, then it comes to the planning board and heard some like, how did you guys ever approve that? Does the planning board have to accept what we approve?
So unfortunately, if a zoning board is the law of the land, if the zoning board approves a variance, it is changing the law to allow that deviation. That is the whole purpose of a variance. So now you're saying, if you approve a variance for density of 50 units, I'm just making up numbers, and now that application comes through, the planning board is only approving the site plan and that it's consistent with our zoning ordinance. So by allowing a variance for setbacks or for density, you have changed the law to allow that. So
And
it
that-
then
that's-
meets our requirements.
That's written.
So if you deny it, then at planning board, just because you don't like the number of units, you're, obviously they're gonna go across the street to the court and they're gonna appeal it, and the court's gonna say, they got a variance and you denied it because you didn't like the number. The zoning board is the law and they deviated from that, so it meets your requirements.
But that wouldn't keep us from having other concerns. like,
No, you could have other concerns,
You
yes.
know, like
Parking,
infrastructure
everything.
problems
Yep,
or whatever.
yep, so if you denied it on something other
Yeah,
than
other
that,
than density.
because it didn't meet this, you would just need to be very, very
Right.
Careful.
careful.
EPA can waive the density, but they can't waive sewer and water and.
Right,
ba, ba,
yep.
ba, ba.
Yep, so if zoning board approved a height or a variance or a setback, then that you can't deny it because of that. So that's where, you know, the zoning board needs to be vigilant in their approval of variances and making sure it's consistent with the master plan and that it meets those criteria when it goes to zoning board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I have heard from constituents complaining about that, just so you know. Okay, liaison reports. Anything from the city council, Counselor?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Lakes Region Planning Commission?
No, we're on break till March, so.
Congratulations. Conservation Commission, that's Gail, right? Gail's on there?
Yep, Gail's, but Gail's
She's out
not
tonight,
here.
so no report on that.
And, I don't think Conservation had their, for a couple weeks now, they didn't have anything for the agenda, so they took a little vacation.
Stunned. Okay, and the Historical District Commission, something very near to my heart. We're gonna be working on that.
Yes.
Shortly, so we'll hopefully have some news there. Any other business besides beards?
They get those nice vests, how come we don't get? Kurt buy those for
Because
us?
they're on the planning department, therefore they are paid employees unlike us. If you'd like us to get vests,
You gotta pony up.
We paid for
So,
these
so funny
ourselves, just so
story
you know.
is, this did not come out of the planning department's budget. We didn't have a budget for that. Our budget is wee small, but we wanted vests.
we're
We just
proud.
thought it would look nice.
While we're talking about we small, how are we doing for additional help?
So I did forecast that in my budget. I forecasted for some additional personnel. And on that, we were actually looking at funding options, and we were meeting with Ben, and we had a discussion with Public Works. We go out and do site inspections all the time.
Yep.
And the planning department has never charged for any inspections. So we've been discussing it, and we're gonna also propose to city council this year that we begin charging developers for inspections to cover the cost of what those personnel increases are gonna be.
To help cover the cost?
Yep.
Yep.
That's consistent across other
And
departments.
that's consistent with what everybody else is doing as well.
Yep.
So,
is it,
And put it in those words when it comes in out.
absolutely. Yep. So we're looking, we know we need staff.
Oh, boy.
And I'll tell you, this last year, we had the most amount of units we've ever approved come through, and we've had more applicants come to planning board. And looking at that growth, and if the state school project happens, what else is that going to bring in with it? And we know we don't have staff to support that. And the first place we need staff is the planning department to be able to review all these projects.
I'm not sure that increasing permit fee, whatever, is gonna be enough for what you need for staff.
So we did review, we've got some data, we're reviewing everything right now, we looked at across the state about our application fees, and we are by far one of the cheapest communities to come to. And I don't know if we necessarily wanna change that, but I do think there's room for us to at least increase some. And start charging for the inspections that we're doing on a regular basis.
Just to help offset.
Just to
They're a
offset.
Herculean task, aren't they?
We do. We have an
State school
absolutely
problem.
huge task, and,
And in fact, that north quadrant of the city where he and I are from is gonna be growing in the next several years, particularly when the state school comes in. So
absolutely.
you're gonna need staff.
Yep, and, Thursday, we have our first scoping, meeting for the state school project, with DOT to talk about, the traffic impact. So,
Is that open to the public?
No, I don't believe it is open to the public.
It's with the agency itself, it's their road.
They've talked about a traffic circle there. Have you heard anything about that?
So that, from the conceptual, that's what's on the agenda, is the roundabout.
Yeah, to see if they should put it around about, well, what basically DOT is gonna want. Does a roundabout make more sense, or does a signaled intersection?
Yep.
And that'd be something we discuss.
Well, I would encourage you to ask for the rotary, because traffic lights are not good for traffic flow at all.
So we're gonna be, we're going, and DPW is going as well, and, that is also our concern is that.
And they have the room there for a rotary too.
So, but we're at the mercy of DOT.
Correct.
But we are going to
okay,
voice our
we-
opinion
Yep.
if provided the opportunity, by DOT.
Well, they
So-
seem to like rotaries better anyway, so hopefully that.
There's a danger at some point. There's a place in England called Upham, which has a massive traffic circle with 4 outside traffic circles. So you go around one and then you have to
That's the
go
one where you
around.
get stuck in, oh, look, kids,
Yeah,
Big
oh, yeah.
Ben.
So you know what's interesting? I lived in England for a number of years, and I know that exact roundabout, and I've been through it. And I'll tell you, it is very scary going through a roundabout surrounded by roundabouts.
Yes.
Because you can eventually be going the wrong way. even though
You're
going
already
the right
going
way.
the wrong way because you're in England.
So it is.
I ended up in the middle,
I remember
just so you know.
My anxiety was very high going through this roundabout, but it was, the end result was good,
No,
so.
it must be because I'm in a rotary that I don't have that problem. Let's, anything else so we can finish this meeting? Okay, I look for a motion to adjourn at 8:16.
I don't think you need
Second.
one. Watch us leave and,
Okay, all in favor?
yeah.
All right, thank you all very much. And, we'll just go from there. Did you